Sorry, I've forgotten to record this. Anyway, now I'm going to share this screen with all of you. There you go. So this is the Ambler parking lot. This is the land that we own. If you look, there's a black dashed line. That is what we own, as well as the woods and the vernal pond that is there. You could see there. And then the rest of the land of part of our parking lot is actually owned by 140 Rowayton Avenue Associates. And they lease that space to us. There are 11 spaces there currently. And the rest of the spaces are ours. As we know, as everyone knows, there is hold on, I'm trying to admit these other people into the meeting. We have a shortage of parking. Obviously, during the pandemic, things have been a little different, and the parking hasn't been as needed. But at this point in time, it's not a good measure. We know last summer of 2019, summer of 2018, there was a real problem. We also know that the storefronts, the old pharmacy has 0 parking. They are quote unquote grandfathered for 26 parking spaces that don't exist. So as those stores start getting, that space starts getting used, there's going to be that much more of a demand for parking. So, and if you recall also, the way there was just an entrance and the setup off Wilson Avenue was created at the insistence of 2 residents who lived on Wilson Avenue, both of whom have since sold. And one who sold this property to a developer who put 5 huge houses on Wilson Avenue. So it's time now to really look at this and to get this parking lot, 1, to work better, and 2, to expand the capacity. So our engineers, Land Tech, have come up with this proposal where you'd have an entrance, you would have an exit, and you would have an additional 23 spaces in addition to what we have currently. So we are in a dialogue now with the Conservation Commission and DPW to figure out if under the regulations we can do this. There is, as I said, a vernal pond. There is a 50-foot buffer required typically. And we are going to ask, I think, to, change that and to build some parking into the wetlands and to put in some offsets for that, which happens all the time. So that's what the Ambler parking lot is about. We have $75,000 in our capital budget to do the engineering work and to prep for this. We've also been talking to our neighbor, 140 Rowayton Avenue. We have an easement to get to our parking. There's this easement. There's also another easement here. And they've been really pushing us to add parking as well, because a lot of municipal use, when people are at the farmers market and at other Rowayton activities, are parking in 140, and that's private property. That is not necessarily open to the public. So we've been talking about a long time about doing this, and that is the proposal right now. And then I wanted to give everyone an update as to this, what we were doing, and there'll be more updates in coming meetings as we make progress on this. Okay. Tammy, John, any questions?
Yes, Mike, I think the Land Tech has done a nice job lining this out. Approximately, do you know how many feet back we're sort of pushing from the parking that's the furthest to the east?
I'd say about probably 35 feet.
Okay, and a little bit more at the south end.
It depends. If you look at that map, it really depends where.
Yeah.
But roughly 35 feet.
Okay, and that's great, because then it will be easier for people to go in and to go out, and not to come out onto Rowayton Avenue, where there's such a quagmire of traffic all the time.
Right, and as well as, if you look at this, if you follow my arrow, there's a crosswalk right there, cars coming in and out. It really is a little crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
That's great, thank you.
Looks good.
Yeah, John, do you have any other comments?
No, I think we've been, can you hear me? I think we've been looking at this for a long time, and it's really time.
Right. Okay. Well, anyway, I'll keep you posted as we make further progress with this project. Okay, so Tammy.
Sorry,
will-
the next
that's
order
okay.
of business is the Bailey Beach drainage. Mike,
Yeah. So it's a little hard to do it on my screen. I'm sorry, it's not a bigger screen, but if you look at, here's Bailey Beach, here's Pine Point Road, and then that's the Grove, and then the tennis courts, and then the Little League field. And there is a set of storm drains kind of by the tennis shed all the way around the outfield. And then there is a pipe that empties into what used to be a drainage ditch that runs all along our property on the bottom end of Rowayton Avenue. And it runs and runs and runs. You can see there it's labeled Brook. It then runs underneath Pine Point Road and into Farm Creek. About this, there's a lot of water in here most of the time, or there used to be a lot of water in there. And what used to happen is in very high tides, water would actually come from Farm Creek and push its way down and would flood this all the way back to almost to the playground. We did get the city to install a tide flex valve, which is a valve that lets water go out but not come in. And so we don't get that flooding from Farm Creek anymore. But because of that, we don't have salt water coming in here anymore. The Phragmites have completely taken over. And there's been this huge amount of sediment. And if you walk over there, you'll see it's all filled now. You can't even see the outlet of our drainage pipe, which is here. And then Weburn also has two drainage pipes that are about over here. You can't see them anymore because it's gotten so much sediment, and then the Phragmites have filled in. People have probably noticed twice now we've cut the Phragmites down. Phragmites is not anything Phragmites is a bad thing. Phragmites is an invasive. It looks very pretty. Those are kind of like the willow tails, but Phragmites is an invasive. It does not like salt water. And it is a sign that the soil has been disturbed by man, which obviously this whole area was built with fill, the beach association, and even where we are at Bailey Beach. A lot of that is fill, and because it's been disturbed by man, it's a perfect place for Phragmites. And once we stopped allowing the salt water from coming up from Farm Creek into this ditch periodically, the Phragmites has been able to take over. And that's why now there's no drainage. All the water that comes off the Little League field, the tennis courts, all that area, it has nowhere to go. This whole drainage system is now inoperable. It's filled with hard-true off the tennis courts. So this has been a problem for a long time. Anyone who plays tennis, anyone who's been involved in Little League knows how problematic this is. We've been looking at this for a long time. We're now on our third set of engineers. We've kind of been misled a number of times, or the engineers really didn't perform as we had hoped. We've worked with Little League. We've worked with the Tennis Association. The RTA has now put a lip around all of its tennis courts so that hard-true cannot come off and basically clog a drainage system. Last year, if you remember, the summer of 2019, we had crazy amounts of rain, and literally this whole area in front of the tennis shed and this whole walkway area was completely underwater and flooded much of the time. So the Land Tech, which we're also using for this project, have proposed we put in a new drainage system that would be different from the current system. It would be basically perforated PVC pipe with gravel on top. So there'd be a place for the water to go. It wouldn't get clogged like it is now through the storm drains with the hard-true. and it would once again the water would get discharged into this drainage area, this ditch. As I mentioned earlier, this ditch has completely been filled. We've now, as I said, cut back the Phragmites twice, and the plan is we would dredge this. So it's a several multi-part project, anyway, we're working different phases. Our plan right now is we would install this drainage system first. We're allowed to install that as of right as a maintenance project. And obviously we will need to get permits to work on this drainage area. And that's, anyway, that's what we've got underway. So hopefully both of those are logical, and we'll have periodic updates as we make further progress. Like the Ambler lot, we had put money in the current year's capital budget to do this engineering work and to lay the groundwork for hopefully resolving this problem. What's been great about them is they've been saying, let's design this so that every 5 years you can do some maintenance, which you're allowed to do as of right, so that none of this clogging or filling in that we've now experienced ever occurs again, and we'd have a properly working drainage system such that both Little League and tennis will no longer have all the problems that have been experienced there. So those are those two updates. Okay, Tammy, I'm trying to unmute you.
Yeah, Commissioner Geary had a question.
Oh, John.
Still muted, I think.
No, I can hear you.
Okay, I was just wondering how we will deal with the Phragmites.
Well, Phragmites is very, very invasive. And if you recall, the gardeners have had when Teoside was here, they had a big project there on Rowayton Avenue by the Samus Street Bridge. And they did a lot of work to kind of take out the Phragmites. I think in this problem, in this situation, some of the work that was done there, we probably wouldn't want to repeat. And I think as we dredge, we'll take out a lot of the kind of the seeds of the Phragmites, and we'll probably have to keep at it for a while until we finally get rid of it. I mean, it's not an easy thing to get rid of.
Okay.
Okay, that's it for me on those two topics. Oops, Tammy, can't hear you. Tammy, you have to unmute yourself. I don't know. I can't do it for some reason.
Okay, good.
Yep.
All right, so I was just saying that at our last meeting, we were hoping that by now we would have more commuters going back to commuting, and that is not the case. So the station house is still closed, and we have to decide at what point, do we open it? There are about 50 cars on average going in the morning now. And do we eventually put out an RFP for somebody to want to have some type of a business in there, whether it's a coffee shop or selling papers, whatever it is. But right now, the amount of commuters really doesn't bear opening the station. We could engage the guards to open the station, the ones that check the permits, if we want to do that. And that might be a solution as we head into the colder, darker weather. Maybe we just have it open briefly in the morning from 7 to 9 or 6:30 to 9:30, sort of during the peak rush. But then we will end up having the guards there for longer than we are currently having them at the station. So I don't know if we want to wait until January and make a decision, or if we want to do something now. So I'd like your guys' thoughts on that.
I think
Well,
we
I mean, we're losing money, right, at this point, Tammy? I mean,
Yep.
the day passes generate a lot of our income for the parking lot.
That's correct. And we have sold almost a full amount of permits that we sold last year for annuals. We're up to about 375 out of 425. We are waiting to go to the wait list just because we were working on some numbers. And we're going to have to decrease the hours of the men that work at the railroad just because the revenue is not coming in. So that's something that, you know, we just sort of, it's a wait and see game right at the moment. And so John, I think, was suggesting we can wait and see until January how many commuters and then decide whether we want to open the station house or not.
I think with the current spike going on in Connecticut with COVID, we may see commuters dropping again.
Mhm.
So why don't we just wait until we have a clear idea of where we're going?
Right. It's also a small space. I mean, I guess about 4 or 5 people could stand in there socially distancing. Maybe they're better off on the platform.
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah. All right. Well, to be continued then. Mike, do you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, I'm on board with that. Mine, you know, that idea.
Okay, great. So then the next item under old business, which is not on the agenda, is the fence. A couple of weeks ago, the 6 taxing districts sent out an email to all of our approximately 4,800 e-blast addresses. And we had asked people for feedback on guidelines for the fence, whether we change those guidelines or leave them the same. This has been an ongoing conversation, and we received about a dozen or so replies from people that said they liked the regulations the way they were. So we didn't put it on the agenda because we thought, you know, people weren't interested in talking about it. But today, a resident presented us with a petition signed by approximately 114 people, 70 of them Rowayton residents, about 30 of them Norwalk residents, and the rest from assorted other places, regarding what type of signage they would like to see on the fence. And this is a continuing conversation as a result of the Black Lives Matter sign. And we did talk to the mayor regarding signage and what the city does. As you know, or if you don't know, residents that are listening, the old school fence property is owned by the city of Norwalk, but managed by the 6th taxing district. And the regulations or guidelines for the fence use is established by the 6th taxing district. There was a committee a long time ago that put together the guidelines. And we have been requested by some residents to allow the Black Lives Matter sign. It was up for a month or so, and then it came down. And we talked to the mayor, and he said that under other city properties, there are no signs allowed on any fences or in any city parks. Somebody suggested at the last taxing district Zoom meeting that the property go back to the direction from the city. And if that's the case, then no signs will be allowed on the fence at all. So we have a number of residents on the call this evening, I guess, that would like to speak to this. We did receive a list of suggestions from a couple of people on what type of changed guidelines might look like. And we can review that. We could post it for other residents to look at. And it's something that, you know, maybe some people on the call would like to speak to. Mike, is there anybody on the call that would like?
I'm just saying they're because it's a little hard to see the whole screen, but If people do want to chat, please put it in the chat room if you want to speak, and I will allow, I'll then open it up one person at a time. The first speaker would be Rob Pratt. Which Rob, there you go.
Rob
Go
Pratt.
ahead.
Hello, Rob Pratt from Farm Creek. I've taken a little time to prepare something that I hope is cogent for everyone. If 2020 has shown us anything, it is that there is a social movement for the equality of Black people. It's become the largest social movement in the history of the United States and has inspired popular support in similar movements across the globe. Therefore, it can be reasonably argued that the fence policy should be updated to reflect this moment in time, as there is apparent desire among residents to express support for this movement in particular, and for other movements supporting social justice and equality for other oppressed groups, such as the LGBTQ community, with statements like "love is love," which doesn't happen to garner as much controversy as Black Lives Matter. The current policy establishes a broad definition of political signs being prohibited and narrow definitions of promotions of events and personal messages, both by nonprofits and residents alike. Commissioners have stated support for Black Lives Matter on the 6th Taxing District website, yet in correspondence with concerned residents have claimed that Black Lives Matter is expressing support for an organization and therefore don't want a sign referencing Black Lives Matter up on the fence. This is a mischaracterization of a moral social movement that started as and remains a decentralized grassroots movement, stating unequivocally that Black Lives Matter does not, stating that does not promote specific political candidates, parties, nor organizations. Therefore, signage stating Black Lives Matter should not be categorized as political. It's a simple statement showing support, love, and solidarity with Black people who live or work in our community and beyond. Anyone trying to associate this local declaration of moral support as somehow directly promoting or supporting an incorporated organization couldn't be more misguided nor misinformed. I, as well as more than 70 direct Rowayton residents, as well as more Norwalk residents, have expressed that Black Lives Matter is a social movement and a moral statement they wish to visibly support on the fence. We feel this moment in time, while unsettling for a few misinformed people, is a call to rise up above it and allow the fence to display such signs of support. A few of us have drafted a framework that we feel that could permit that, and we welcome discussions on how to adopt it. And that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you very much, Rob. We appreciate your sentiments. Is there somebody else that would like to speak about this?
I don't see anyone else in the chat. Oh, Kate Connors would like to speak.
Okay, hi, Kate.
Who was that?
Kate Connors.
Hi there, everyone. I'm Kate. I live on Belle Island. I've lived here my whole life. I'm really disappointed, honestly, that we haven't had the sign up, or that we've really honestly had to fight this long, and that the commissioners took it down without any public vote or really any reason or explanation as to why it was taken down. For the argument that it's political, as was stated last public meeting, there is a federal ruling stating that Black Lives Matter, either the organization nor the phrase, is political. And it's very clear from the federal ruling, as well from the clear show of Rowayton residents' support for the sign, from the $5,000 raised for the sign in the first place, the 4 protests that have happened over the summer, the several people who spoke in support of it last meeting, and the 114 people who signed the petition that specifically states this sign is not political and deserves to be on the fence because it is an important show of support for our Black neighbors who may not feel safe enough to partake in this discussion because the government of this town doesn't want to put this sign up on the fence. I think all of that is a clear show of majority support for putting this sign up on this community fence and making an exception, because we are at a crucial moment in time right now, and we need to support our neighbors. This sign to be up on the fence, I believe that with all of my heart. And I really just want more answers from the commissioners as to why it was taken down in the first place. And to please continue this discussion, because we've showed up at last meeting and I think someone suggested that thing about giving it back to Norwalk, but we didn't get any answers as to why the sign was taken down. And we clearly believe that it should be put back up. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Kate. When the original sign was left on the fence for a month, it was then taken down because it had exceeded the limits of sort of the time frame in general. And I think it was awesome that a number of residents got together and raised money for the Carver Center. And I think that was really showing terrific community support for Black Lives Matter and doing something right here in Norwalk. We've had other conversations where, you know, whether you think it's political or not, never mind. I mean, it is a human sentiment, and the commissioners have come out and we put it on our website that we believe in that. So the thing is, it's a city fence, but we can maintain it, and we are listening to both sides. I think your list of recommendations can certainly be discussed. Thanks for sending them to us and putting your thoughts and efforts into it. Is there anybody else that would
Yes,
like?
the next speaker would be someone who signed in as Happy Clam.
Hi, Mike. That's me. It's Shar.
I thought it was, but I didn't want to divulge your identity if I wasn't supposed to.
No. That's just been my handle since AOL came online, and forgive me for having old tech. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for allowing us to join. First, I just want to say something about logistics. I think the time change issue really needs to be addressed. Please don't do that to us. You know, my inbox was bombarded as I was driving home from a work project from mothers who were upset that they can't attend because they're putting their children to bed. They cleared 7 o'clock. You know, they got husbands who wanted to take over and be able to speak who can't do it. So it's really distressing. Can you explain why that is and why no notice was given? And I'm saying no ample notice.
We apologize. We're not all in the same place, and we were not all able to have connectivity at the same time. Some of the commissioners are far away and taking time out from their personal travels to facilitate this meeting, and we just didn't have connectivity. So we apologize. It was just the situation. So we, in general, have our meetings at 7 o'clock. We will continue to try to do that. But with the Zoom thing, it just was a technical glitch.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the explanation. And that's completely fair. I would just ask that, you know, knowing there's some hot topics and that people want to join, that if this happens again, that it's rescheduled within 7 days or something like that, and that ample notice is given. Because a few hours notice, it's just not right. And it gives the optics that you're suppressing meeting attendance. Those are the optics, Tammy.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm so disappointed because we have a robust municipal group in place. You guys do tremendous work. You work your butts off, and you have lost credibility because of that. And so I just want to share that. So moving on to the sign, I think Kate and Rob have explained it really, really well. And what I want to ask is, first of all, we do not want it to go to Norwalk. I don't know how that came up. I know someone said that on the last meeting, but obviously we don't want that. What we do want is the sign to go back up. Everybody knows that. And what we don't understand, and this question is specifically for the commissioners, I'd like you to answer tonight. What we don't understand, and again, I'm getting a lot of emails from all types of people, is why there wasn't a more diplomatic approach and follow-up plan from the last meeting.
Well, it sent out in the email blast asking residents what they thought. And that's the communication avenue that we have. We sent out the e-blast and we got back, about a dozen plus comments.
Right,
And
but what I'm saying is at the last meeting, right? Everyone expressed a lot of comments. What happened with that feedback? There was a lot of feedback then.
Well, we took in the comments people had made, and we discussed with the mayor, the possibility of what they do in the city. And we were given the response that, no signs on any city property.
Right, okay. All right, thank you. Thank you for explaining that. So in the meantime, we've submitted a petition, 114 names on it, right? So can we wrap this up tonight? That's what my friends are asking. Like, why do we have to continue for this to be a debate when clearly people are passionate about it? Can we settle it tonight? We've got 114 names. You've got 12 emails. Do Black Lives Matter? I mean, putting it on a website, great. It's progress. I was thrilled to see that. But, it's a little bit of a Band-Aid to a much bigger discussion. And I'm concerned because, my sisters and brothers feel like you are not listening to the few people of color in town. And I'm really trying to be a spokesperson for all of us. And it hurts. And I really would like to have some feedback live on this recorded meeting tonight. And what I want to state is the following. A Black Lives Matter sign has been hung across the front of a church. It's not a yard sign or a banner that you must squint to read. The sign is big. The sign is bold. It's meant to be seen by everyone. It is on the Post Road in Westport, on probably the biggest intersection, the intersection of Imperial Avenue and the Post Road. The police supported the sign. The municipality came out and supported the sign. Yesterday morning, socially distanced because of COVID, but shoulder to shoulder emotionally, the church blessed the sign. Harold Bailey, chair of Team Westport, the town's multicultural committee, spoke briefly. We are getting ready to hang a Black Lives Matter banner on the facade of Saugatuck Congregational Church. And by the way, this is where I went to nursery school. We do so to support those among us who are Black and brown during a year that has been particularly hard on the people of color, and to express our commitment to work hard against racism. This is a project initiated by our community, the Arts and Ministry team, and unanimously supported by our Saugatuck Church Council. Among the many interlocking experiences that have defined 2020 is a heightened focus on systemic racism and its impact on communities of color. In response, many of you have taken steps to deepen your understanding of racism, reading, discussing, marching, and asking, what more can I do? You have leaned into this moment with courage and curiosity. Together, we have grieved the harm inflicted on those of us who are Black and brown. So that's a part of what I wanted to read because I'm from here and I am embarrassed at the behavior of people who have spoken out against the sign, the vandalism of the sign, and frankly, the way that this process has played out with the 6th taxing district. I'm embarrassed because when people say, what is it like being a person of color in Rowayton? I've always said nothing but praise. And now I'm almost under fire for living here, and I've done nothing wrong. All I've done is exist in a town that doesn't have the backbone to put up this sign. That's all I got.
There are other people that want to speak. I don't know, Tammy, if you want to respond or just have people continue speaking. You need to unmute, Tammy.
Okay, let's let everybody speak and then we'll respond. Thank
Okay.
you.
John Levin, you would be the next speaker. John, are you still there? You need to unmute yourself.
Okay,
You're
I hope you can
unmuted.
hear me now.
Yep, we can.
Okay, so I'm here to, in my role as a board member of Nancy on Norwalk. And I know the topic of discussion is the old school fence and the policy of placing signs there. I apologize, I am not looking to comment directly on the Black Lives Matter sign, and instead make an inquiry with respect to a request that Nancy on Norwalk had made to the commissioners about posting the Nancy on Norwalk sign. I feel awkward following Shar because I think that her commentary was heartfelt and moving and compelling. And I would just say, Shar, that if you had more time and more feet on the ground, there would have been far more people to sign that petition, I believe. And I can say for certain that this Norwalk resident also would have signed it if I had known about it. So I think that petition represents only a tiny portion of the number of people that support exactly what it is you've expressed. So I should ask, is it okay for me to ask about the sign policy and how Nancy on Norwalk was treated in a recent request?
John, it's on our website. The rules are very clearly delineated as to what kinds of signs can go up and can go down. And I
Right.
believe your request came through a Rowayton resident, and that request was responded to.
Okay, so that's what I would like to address then. Thank you very much. So the response was from the commissioners, and this is coming secondhand, and you can correct me if this is wrong, but the request was rejected for the following reasons. And this is a quote that I'm reading from an email referencing the commissioner's response. We feel that Nancy on Norwalk has a reputation for being political, playing favorites, and being a for-profit organization. It is also not a strictly Rowayton organization. Therefore, we would suggest that you post your portion of Nancy on Norwalk on Nextdoor Rowayton, but not on the fence. There's a couple reasons why I'm concerned by this. Just simply, the information in this response is objectively wrong. Nancy on Norwalk actually is a nonprofit organization. It's a 501c3 that was founded in 2012 by Nancy Chapman and her husband, Mark Chapman. Became a 501c3 in 2013, I believe. I've been on the board since then. The idea that Nancy on Norwalk has a reputation for being political, I don't know how that reputation necessarily was obtained. I know that Nancy on Norwalk reports on civic events and land use matters and other important matters throughout the city of Norwalk, including Rowayton. And in fact, the sign issue came really because there had been a Black Lives Matter protest march, very peaceful, and itself quite moving, that was held on Sunday, September 13th, that walked through the various streets of Rowayton. And I had been asked to take photographs for this march, which I did. And trying to be a good journalist, I asked people if it was okay to use their name in the photograph and if it would be okay for Nancy to interview them by phone. And I mentioned that I was taking pictures for Nancy on Norwalk. I was surprised at the number of Rowayton residents that had never heard of Nancy on Norwalk. The story itself ran on September 15th, and there was quite a few comments. And I thought pictures were excellent, and the march took place. But I would like it to, clearly Nancy on Norwalk is a nonprofit. Your information is incorrect. It reports on political affairs and events, just who's running for office, what they say, and so forth. But in fact, actually, the organization itself makes no endorsements and seeks to be apolitical. In terms of playing favorites, that's very hard. I know we're in a political environment now where politicians will accuse the media of being unfriendly to them simply for reporting facts. And the goal of Nancy on Norwalk is to do exactly that, to report the facts. We would be delighted to get support from our fellow city dwellers. I believe that posting our sign at the request of a Rowayton resident, just simply to publicize the existence of the website and the new service that it offers for free to everyone, would be a service to everyone in Rowayton and would not be in violation of the policies posted on your website.
John, I think at the end of the day, while there might have been some misinformation from that in that email, Nancy on Norwalk should have contacted the 6TD directly. And the other point I'd make is at the end of the day, it's Nancy on Norwalk. It's not Nancy on Rowayton. And our sign policy very clearly states this is for Rowayton organizations only. And even, we had a church that was trying to put up signs and we were like, look, these are the rules. And, it's not a Rowayton church. And so, we declined them from posting something on the sign there. So I think that part of it hasn't changed. And there are other people that want to speak, and you can contact us directly if you want to further this conversation. But at the end of the day, I think, it's Nancy on Norwalk. It's not Nancy on Rowayton. And feel free. A lot of people do use next door to get, eyeballs. Okay.
So I'm wondering, has there ever been in the history of the old school fence any exception to any of the policies posted ever?
There was a period of time where there were no rules whatsoever and things got a little out of control. And that's when we introduced these guidelines, which we worked on with a range of organizations representing the community. We did not create these in a vacuum, which is why we did in our last major email blast to the whole town, we did ask for input. And Tammy very clearly stated what input we got back. Every single person who wrote us said they liked the rules. Obviously tonight people are saying differently, but I would assume most everyone in this meeting, if not everybody, also got that same email. Anyway, we do have more people that want to speak. Daniel Honan, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you.
Sure.
My name's Daniel Honan, 154 Highland Avenue. I am relatively new in town, almost 2 years. I was at the meeting last month and didn't want to take up more oxygen because it seemed to me like a slam dunk in terms of the public comment, which way they were going. I'm for the sign going up. I'm quite disappointed. I just want to say this because I'm very disappointed. I want to sort of temper myself. I want to commend the 6th Taxing District for the work you do in general. I thought the reopening of Bailey Beach, at the beginning of the season was commendable. I think what we heard earlier in this meeting was commendable. And I think that it's very apparent what we're witnessing right now is that it feels to me like you are ahead of your skis. Because I don't feel, and I think that a lot of people on this call feel like this is not being handled in a transparent and equitable way. I don't think that you're doing your job in this instance where you're listening to the community. Because I was on the call last month, and again, I thought it was a slam dunk when you heard the public comments, dozen after dozens of people commenting from this community and saying, these are the values of our community. You know, we support this. And then I just wasn't even sure what the follow-up was. The follow-up was an absolute leadership vacuum. I think this is a leadership opportunity that is just sorely lacking. So, you know, I'm voicing my frustration, and I'm sorry about that, but I'm very frustrated in the way that the 6th Taxing District has dealt with this. I won't take up much more time, but I didn't speak in the last meeting because it felt like, my gosh, these guys ought to listen to this overwhelming support in favor of the sign if they're doing their jobs, and then follow up in a way that can give us confidence that the people are being listened to. But I gotta be honest, I have not heard that. And I'd like to hear ways that you would start to instill some confidence that you are listening. That's all.
Thank you for your comment. The next speaker, there was another request. Sorry, I'm trying to keep this all track of this. Okay, I think that's it, Tammy, for all the public speakers, the requests.
Okay.
I'm seeing 34.
It looks to
And I do want to say, one person did in the chat room said, you know, that was trying to disagree with what we had said in our email, but I think we had made it very clear, you know, the fence rules were what the fence rules were. And that's, if people wanted to change them, we could have a discussion on that. And that's why we sent out the email that we did. Anyway, Tammy, go ahead. Oh, Lauren Henry wanted to speak. Sorry, I missed that. Go ahead, Lauren. Oh, I don't know where Lauren is. She wanted to speak, but I don't see her here. I don't know, maybe she's not on the call anymore. Oh, she's trying to reconnect. Okay.
well,
Go ahead, Tammy. No, there's no one in the waiting room. Okay, here, Char wanted to speak again. Char, please go ahead.
Hi, thanks so much, Mike. So I just wanted to dispel a myth because you sent me an email, Mike, you know, saying that there was a lot of misinformation that had to stop, and I could not agree with you more. That's so true. And what I want to say in terms of misinformation is, you know, I'm speaking and Rob is speaking and Dan and, you know, all these wonderful people speaking about how they feel. But the owners of the sign, you know, they're not us. We're not even the owners, right? We know that the original owners of the sign have reached out to you, you know, in earnest, that they've worked really hard to get you to make an exception. And I just want to say on their behalf that I support them because they don't want to change their original sign. They'd like the sign to go up. In addition to that, you know, my computer is blowing up. I'm getting IMs and emails from people that are saying, you're sending a racist message. And I feel like I'm going to get retaliation for this, but I'm saying it in very plain language. We have the press on the phone, on the line. I have never met you, John, but I just got your IM. I did see you at the protest, and I want to myth bust another fact. The protests are peaceful. The protests are family friendly for the most part. You know, there's a little bit of controversial speak that goes on in the protests, No one person requested the protest. The requests came out from multiple Rowayton residents to have a protest. And unfortunately, I had a broken leg that happened to me on July 1st, and I wasn't able to march in every single one. But the last two I attended, and they were peaceful and lovely. And I've met incredible people through the protests. And Mike, when I saw you on the side of the road, you know, you were perpendicular to Crockett, I invited you to join. You know, I don't see the commissioners out there supporting Black Lives Matter. It's on the website, but people feel like that's, you know, just a slap in the face. We need to put the sign up, and we need to resolve it tonight. I'm pushing because, like I said, my inbox is being blown up all week long, and tonight it's just, I can't even keep up with it. But people are saying, why haven't you simply addressed this and made an allowance and put the sign up? And we want to hear back from all three commissioners on that tonight.
Okay, are we gonna answer one at a time?
I thought we were waiting until the end.
Okay, well, I think.
I don't know. I know Lauren wanted to speak, and I admitted her in. Let's see if she's, I don't know. Lauren, are you there? Here. Oh yeah, you're unmuted, Lauren. Why don't you speak so that everyone who wanted to speak gets a chance to speak?
Okay, I don't want to make this drag on really any longer than it has to. My only point was to say that if the 6th taxing district can post a statement on their website supporting BLM, why can't we post a sign? There's a group of us that have gotten together with the aim of doing the hard work of being anti-racist, and hanging a sign doesn't seem to me to count as the hard work. It seems like the bare minimum that we should be doing. I think that Kate posted in the chat the proposal, and so if anyone wants to look at that, they can. That's it. That's all I have to say. It doesn't seem that difficult to me, and it's important. Thanks.
Madam Chair, you're not.
It's like it's the reverse. Mute is unmuted and muted is.
Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with it tonight.
Okay. We have other items on our agenda, but each commissioner can take an opportunity to sort of answer these requests from the residents. You know, I don't think any of the commissioners, I'll speak for myself, but I'll speak for all of us. We firmly believe Black Lives Matter. The fence, whether it's a sentiment or not, was not really set up for that. It was supposed to be Rowayton things. And our first suggestion when the first group of Rowayton residents came to us with this, and they actually told us that they had not reached out to the people that wanted to start have the demonstrations, and that they had not requested that. You know, it's fine. We've had 4 demonstrations, and everything from that has been positive, and the commissioners are fine with that. We feel that that's absolutely, you're right, and the people that are having it's right. One thing that I sort of wonder is, I've gone to some other towns, some in Connecticut, some in Massachusetts, where just about every yard has a BLM sign. And I don't see that here. I see a lot of people signing the petition, but I see a handful of BLM yard signs in our community. And I'm wondering why there aren't more. Why is the fence so important? Yes, it is on the bend when you come into town, but a lot of people come in on other streets, you know? And so where's the support there? Why is it just our fence? And maybe it's not a question that can be easily answered, but the commissioners try to, you know, do a good job balancing what we're working with our residents and their concerns. And we really appreciate your concerns. We get, you know, comments from all different residents. So thank you again. I think a lot of us have done reading and studied this, and, you know, we do support the but as for the fence, you know, it's sort of its own little entity. So I'll let Mike or John say what they'd like to say.
If I may, Mike?
Sure, of course.
I
John, hold on. John, stop. John, you have to unmute. You have to unmute.
I unmuted.
Oh, there you go. Go ahead.
I was saying I agree with, I'm getting an echo now. Okay, hold on. I said I agree with everything Tammy just said, and that I'd like to clarify a point. We did not go to the mayor about the fence. The mayor came to us because he had gotten a lot of text messages on the website and some personal calls to him directly, asking why the city doesn't take back control of the fence. We discussed that with them, and we have a long working relationship with the city, so they're allowing us to make our own decisions on that fence. We have for a long time maintained, and I'm not sure the right word, but a neutral position. We didn't want to take any side of a moral question. We just tried to talk about what's going on in the community. So if we do take a position that Black Lives Matters on a fence, if someone wants to come to us and say, Blue Lives Matter, I want to put up a sign, do we allow that? If someone wants to take a position against abortion, do we allow that? You know, these are some of the questions that the commissioners are kicking around and trying to come up with a fair answer. But it's not as easy as everyone thinks. So, sorry. Mike, you want to make some comments? Hello. Mike?
Yeah, sorry, I had to admit someone. I had to find myself. So,
Okay.
you know, I'm running this meeting as the host, and you know, there are a lot of comments coming in. So, and a lot of people are, you know, they feel like they're going to get trampled if they try to say that the fence shouldn't be political, and so they don't want to voice it publicly. So I know one of the points you keep on saying, and to be honest with you, some of these personal attacks against us as commissioners who are trying to do the right thing, who are volunteers, I don't appreciate personally. I really don't appreciate the attacks and threatening us and saying that we took the sign down and we did all these horrible things. I'm sorry. But, you know, John, Tammy, and I have given a lot back to the city of Norwalk. I've been on the Board of Ed for 9 years. Now, the Board of Ed is, the Norwalk Public Schools is a majority minority district. John Igneri was on the Common Council and was president of the council. And Tammy's been on the planning commission for more years than I want to count. So we're all giving back and part of the town. So to attack us and to try to say we're racist and we're horrible people, we took the sign down, I really resent that. So keep that all in mind. You know, and we've voiced our support for this. The fact is, the fence has never been a political. It's been for local announcements and local announcements only. And we did get an email from someone I know very well, whose kids responded very strongly to the Black Lives Matter being on the fence. So I feel this, and I know people that have been directly impacted this, including these kids. We're just trying to be objective, and we're trying, you know, if we allow the Black Lives Matter sign, who knows what the next sign up there is going to be. It's a bit of a Pandora's box, and I know everyone wants to draw the line here, but I'm just saying it's a Pandora's box. And why the sign has become this demarcation point, I don't really know, but it obviously has.
Go ahead, Juan.
Mike, I'd like to add, I'm walking my dogs earlier and earlier so that I don't run into people that have an opinion on both sides of this issue. The dogs are getting upset that they have to get up so early at this point, but commissioners are in a very uncomfortable position. So we're trying to do what's right, and we are taking our time to do it, but we are really trying to make the right decision.
And once again, I'm seeing all these comments in the chat room, and you know what? You're not being fair to us. Sorry, you're not. And Kate Connors, and the rule proposals you made, not all that stuff is objective. I don't know how we're supposed to implement that. What's a humanitarian organization and what's not? You're introducing these parameters that we're just, as commissioners, we're not in a position to make a determination. It's a very subjective matter. So trying to say those rule proposals were objective and we could just implement them no problem, I don't think is true. And I think there are people that have commented that, as I said, they like the rules they are. As I said, we did get 12 emails, 12 emails that were public, but people come up to us, people leave messages in chat rooms. This is not all happening as much in the public domain as maybe people want. And maybe what the answer is we can have a public meeting in person at the community center and the rules can be discussed. I'm not sure that's the answer, but maybe that's a solution. Or maybe we just take a break and we have no signs on the fence for a month and then see where we are. I'm not really sure what the answer is, but I know everyone on this, or many people, if not most of these people on the call, think that they've got the right answer, but it isn't necessarily what everyone agrees with. And let's remember too, there are 4,500 residents from Rowayton. And while 112 people signed a petition, 70 of them are from Rowayton, there are 4,500 residents. I'm just saying, those are the numbers. Tammy?
Okay. Sorry. All right, so thank you to the commissioners for their comments and to the residents for their comments. As you can see, this is not an easy topic or decision. And personally, the commissioners are all in favor of Black Lives Matter, but the fence might not be the place to express it. And for now, I wish we could have had this conversation in person. We had hoped possibly to do that after our last meeting, but given the pandemic numbers, it's just not possible. So please support Black Lives Matter in the way that you best see fit. All right, and we're going to move on to the other items on our agenda. And we'll start with the fire marshal, please. Ed, if you're there.
Ed?
Yes, I'm here, Tammy. Thank you. I'll be brief. My report was sent to all the commissioners by Andrea. You should have it and you could read it as your leisure. I will say we have been quiet as far as any serious incidents. One thing, the fire department does have a house to drill on tomorrow, which is very good because we don't get them very often. It's a house that's going to be demolished and they're going to be drilling on that tomorrow. That is about it on fire marshal.
Thank you. And then could we please go to the property manager report?
Yes, okay, I'll be brief. On the community center, there was a memorial tree planted by the gardeners in memory of Michael Poehler. It's over in the potting shed field. It's I believe it's a paper bark maple. The community center AED was removed for the winter by Norwalk Hospital, and the ball field AED, which has been down by the Rowayton School backstop, is now in the basement restroom for use at the community center. Our people, their district people, built some shelves into the ice house for storage to clean up the floor. The floor was getting quite cluttered, and they did a very nice job. We had some wood that was donated by Gardner Gray, and our two employees built those shelves. Norwalk Sign Company had replaced a fountain sign for no potable water that Phyllis had made for actually they made the first one in the fountain to indicate that the water in the fountain is not for drinking. Somehow that sign went missing, and I contacted Norwalk Sign Company and they replaced it free of charge. On Bailey Beach, we had the entrance apron and some patching done near the basketball court. It was done by P&S Paving. That's all been completed. We had the tree stump by the playground was ground after the locust tree came down in the storm, and the wood was split by our people for the residents to take. It's a locust tree. The AED at the beach was removed by Norwalk Hospital for the winter. They are in charge of those. Picnic Park, there's a maple tree on the north property line, which we've had some calls from a resident on the north side. He's concerned about a lot of deadwood in it. And we met with Larry Brown Tree Service, and Larry has decided that they're going to remove the tree. Actually, it's going to be done this Saturday. It is dangerous. It's got a number of deadwood in it, and the condition is not that it's going to last that much longer. And also the AED at Pinckney Park for the winter was moved into the public restroom. Joanne at the Seaside Delight has a key. And the farmer's market will be going into November. I'm not sure the exact date, but Brian Kemmer has told me that they will be going into November. And that's my report.
Thank you, Ed. All right, so then could we please go to the district treasurer?
Hi, thank you, Tammy. I provided some handouts to the commissioners. The first one I'll discuss is the report of bills paid for the following month, for the last 2 months. And I would like the commissioners to review them and sign them and return them to the office. Or you can send them to Post Office Box 246 as you whatever's most convenient with you. And there's the comment on the reports of the budget versus actual for 2021. Our income is at 38.5% of the budgeted income, and our expenses are at 37.5% of the budget expenses. So pretty much right in line with historical expectations of our fiscal year. Third, our capital budget, including reserves for some of the items that were mentioned tonight, including the lots, the ballparks and things like that, are on track to meet for the beginning funding for future projects, including the reserve for potential hurricanes that was instituted several years ago. Let's see, moving on. The fourth item that Tammy and Ed and myself will be discussing as soon as we can schedule it is the railroad budget versus actual. As was mentioned previously, the daily parking is a significant part of our railroad budget, approximately 1/3 of the budget. And that's, as Tammy mentioned, 50 people or less, many times a lot less than that, have been using the Rowayton parking. So we're addressing where we'll be at the end of the year and may have to make some adjustments there. Next, the events coming up, we're working with the auditors on the annual budget for fiscal year 2019 and 2020. Expect that to be done within the month. And finally, for the department supervisors, we've sent an email requesting that you have your budget items in preparation for next year's budget. And if you could do that as hopefully by the time the next meeting rolls around, that would be most appreciated. And that concludes the treasurer's report tonight.
Thank you, Gil. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Tammy.
You're welcome. All right, then could we please have the district clerk's report, Andrea?
Tammy, is Andrea there with you? I don't see her. She's not signed in. Or maybe she's under Woody. Hold on. I don't know where Andrea is.
How about if I put on I unmute and let her talk here?
Yeah, okay.
Did you hear the beginning of her report?
No.
Okay, I'll start over then.
Yes, please.
I notified all troops, usually community center for meetings, let them know they can meet him again. Let them know that they will have to pay the district $50 for an in-depth cleaning after each use. The district will send the money to the cleaning service. While in the picnic park, yoga teachers will start having a maximum of 10 persons for yoga classes in the grace room on Monday and Friday mornings, starting on November 2nd. Greg Barrett, who did yoga classes at the beach in the past, may in the future run a weekend class. As yet to be decided. Chamber Orchestra will start practicing in the Moose Room on November 2nd, a Wednesday. I thought they wanted to practice on Sunday afternoons, but judging from the paperwork that was left for me last night, they will practice again on Wednesdays. When we go back to in-person meetings for the committee.
Andrea, we really couldn't hear you.
Remote learning gatherings and students doing their learning online every school day. There may be a children's music class scheduled at the community center as well, but the details have not been decided yet. That's all I have. Thank you. Okay, that's it. That's it.
Okay, Andrea.
Okay, Tammy? There are others that wanted to speak, and I don't know what else is on the agenda. I don't have it in front of me, but I can't hear you, Tammy. You need to unmute.
We had the community police report and the security, but they're not present. I can just make some comments that we did have security detail patrolling various district properties this summer. There were a number of incidences with kids drinking, kids jumping the fence at Bailey Beach. We tried to control those. Kids at the back of the Rowayton School, littering with beer cans, etc. Luckily, there was no serious damage to district property, and it was fairly under control, given compared to some years past. So we thank our security patrol for keeping an eye on district property. Okay, so that's it on the agenda.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, so let's, if that covers all of our agenda, as I said, there were these speakers. If we can get back to that.
Okay.
And there's a lot here, so I am trying to, and it's not the easiest. I think Michelle Segala wanted to speak. Hold on. Sorry, this is, okay, Daniel wanted to speak.
Yeah, so I'm still here. So,
Good.
yeah, referring back to the matter about the fence, you know, Mike, I just wanted to address something to you, which is that, like, I know that passions are running high here. You know, you may have heard things outside of this meeting where you feel like you're personally under attack, and I'm sorry you feel that way. I haven't witnessed anyone in this public meeting make personal attacks. I don't think that's the spirit, certainly not the spirit in which I'm speaking here. And some of the other people who've chosen to speak as well, who I've spoken to before this meeting. So I just, you know, very respectfully want to, you know, reiterate the points that we've made, but also ask the question that, you know, are we just going to come back next month? Because I'll be here. I'll keep coming back. I mean, this doesn't seem to be a settled matter to me. And I just feel like there's a very, there's still like a clear lack of direction from the 6th taxing district. So I'm a concerned citizen. You've heard from some others. And I would just pose the question to you, how are our concerns going to be addressed tonight? Are we just going to come back and complain more, hope we go away next month? Because I hope that's not the case. I'll be here next month, but, you know, I would really love to hear some greater clarity about what you advise us to do.
Let's have everyone who wants to speak, and we will get to that answer for you. So Romney, I know you've been patiently waiting, so would you please, you have the floor.
Hi, everyone. I don't know if I may be the only Black person on this call. I received an email from Kate. So Kate, thanks for sending that out. This was exhausting to sit through. And I'm not a Rowayton resident, but I am a Norwalk resident. My daughter is in the 4th grade and she attends Rowayton Elementary School, and she has since kindergarten. It is incredibly hurtful and disgusting to compare Blue Lives Matter signage, because being a police officer is a job. You can take off a uniform. You cannot stop being Black. And the signs, when Tammy mentioned signs in people's yards supporting Black Lives Matter, versus the sign going up in a community space, that's not the same thing, Tammy. It's not. And Mike, you feeling threatened because people are holding you accountable, I would like everyone to imagine how I feel as a Black woman and not knowing if I or myself or my daughter is going to be a hashtag because you guys do not want to put through with putting up a sign in your community space. My daughter goes to school in your community. We have been active in your community, and you guys should be absolutely ashamed of yourselves when you have the power to make a change here and you're not doing anything at all. And that's pretty much all I have to say about that.
Okay, I think the next speaker is Char. I think you still wanted to speak. Is that right?
Thank you. Thanks, Mike. Gosh, it's hard to follow Romney. First of all, I want to thank you, sister, for speaking up. And it's lovely to meet you. And it's lovely not to be the only person of color on the call. So that's great. You know, Tammy, John, and Mike, listening to you guys, I got a revelation as you were giving your responses. And please have an open mind to what I'm going to say, okay? Because I am trying to not make it personal. And I know you guys work so hard. And of course, you're going to take it personally. It does maybe feel like an attack to you. But to Romney's point, we cannot wake up not Black. It is these comparisons that you're making made me have the revelation that what you guys might need, because let's just, again, plain speak tonight, and don't take this offensively. We have 3 white people, and what you are lacking is diversity training. I mean, that just popped into my head. The way you guys are speaking, even though you don't intend it to be, and I think, Mike, I sent this to you in a private email to you and Tammy and John. You don't think that the way that you're speaking is insightful, but it actually is. And I just want you to have open to listen, because what I'm going to recommend is, apart from the sign and apart from the activism that is going to continue, because the people are just getting more angry with how this is being handled tonight, is that I think you need to seek out some diversity and inclusion training at a very professional level so that you can maybe understand where people are coming from. And that's my suggestion, because it's not good. What happened here tonight isn't fair. Some of the comments are like, Black people's heads are just exploding the way that you guys are talking. It's just, you're not getting it. And all I can do is echo Romney about Tammy when you were speaking. It just, wow, it's you don't mean it, okay? It's a matter of not understanding the Black dilemma or the persons of color's dilemma. And, you know, it's 400 years of misinformation and, you know, people growing up in educational systems. I went to, you know, a private school, and I wasn't taught anything in my school about Black history. And unfortunately, all of that lack of information is leading you guys maybe to make some decisioning that isn't taking into account how it's coming off to people who are woke, you know, white folks in town who are getting it. And, you know, me and Romney sitting here by ourselves looking at a white audience and just, I don't even know her, but it's like, yeah, wow. A lot of what was said tonight by the commissioners, and you don't mean it. So please don't take it personally. I was the chair of a $50 billion company in New York City, of the head of diversity and inclusion. And you guys would be written up for some of the ways that you're handling this if you were working for that organization. So please take that with a grain of salt. It's not a personal attack. You know, I've had to say this to some of my best friends who are white. That's it.
Thanks, everybody, for your thoughts and opinions. You know, Charv, remember, we are volunteers. We are not paid corporate members of a corporation. We're doing this on our own time and trying to keep everything going. And it's been a challenging year with the pandemic, amongst other things. And, you know, at the end of the day, we're just trying to kind of stay objective here. And I think what we should do at this point, what I would propose is, let's put the sign back up for the time being. You know, the rules are 2 weeks. It doesn't matter what the sign is, birthday party, anniversary, or whatever, other than it's an event, a Rowayton event, which gets a little more latitude. But let the sign go up, and we'll have a meeting that is devoted just to the sign rules. And, you know, whoever of the 4,500 residents that want to come in, we can come up with new rules, and there can be a vote, and there could be several versions of the rules or whatever. And everyone, there are people here making accusations this is not democratic. So we'll have a town vote. We've had town votes before. That's the New England form of government. And we can have a town vote on what those rules should be. And voters can decide whether they're objective or not. But that would be my proposal.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't know if I can still speak.
But you're unmuted, so you can.
Oh man, I lucked out. See, I love you personally. I'm telling you, it's not personal.
You're a lucky day.
I really appreciate that. I appreciate this is a small step. It's a win for everyone. It's for everybody. This is going to be better.
Char, this is a proposal. I'm only one of 3 commissioners, so my fellow commissioners have to agree to this. This is not a dictatorship.
No, true. You're right. And it's not a $50 billion company. I didn't mean that way. I just meant, you know.
Sounded good.
Sounds good. Yep.
Okay, John, did you want to say something as a commissioner or respond to the proposal that I put out there?
May I hear that?
There you go. You have the floor.
May I hear it? May I hear the proposal?
My proposal would be to allow the sign to go back up for the time being. This is not indefinite, but until we have until we'd have we'd have a vote, until at least we have a vote on what the rules for the town should be, for the sign, and that we would have a democratic vote that everyone could participate in. It'd be people would have to come to the community center and vote. I don't think we can manage it being an online vote. And we might have more than one version of what the existing rules. We got a proposal today. Maybe we have 3 proposals and residents can vote, and then whatever this fence is going to be is what the fence is going to be based on that vote.
All right, you want me to second that?
Sure, if you would. Or Tammy, do you want to comment? You tell me.
To the residents listening, the commissioners have spent.
Oh, Tammy, let's unmute you.
Okay.
Oh, there you are. Go for it.
Yeah. I would like the people on this call to know that the commissioners have spent a lot of time talking about this and talking to other residents as well. And we feel your concern. We feel it too, but we're responsible for the whole district, and we don't need, we're responsible for district property and city property too. So I'm willing to put the sign back up for 2 weeks, and I sincerely hope that it doesn't get vandalized, and that we felt the pain of the people that put it up the first time when it was vandalized. We felt badly about that, and it's a bad reflection on our community. And it's sad. We don't know who did it. We never will. It might have been somebody from town. It might have been somebody from who knows where. So we can try this. We were trying to have a public meeting and talk about the rules because we wanted a community decision. And these Zoom meetings are helpful, but sometimes it's helpful for us to meet in person and talk to all of the residents. So I'm happy to go with the proposal and see. And I thank you all very much for your input. We appreciate it. So I guess I could second the motion if John didn't already, or then we have a vote to approve, putting it up for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Put your hands up.
Yeah. Okay, so moved.
So moved. Okay. There we go. We will we'll put something out tomorrow. We'll organize, we'll get these proposals and we will have a vote.
Okay, then unless there are any other issues on people would like to speak to, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, everybody.
Um,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Night.